On a warm Australia Day afternoon, the 26th of January, 1966, 3 children left their home in Somerton Park, South Australia. Jane Beaumont was 9 years old. Arnna was 7. And little Grant was only 4. They were going to the beach, Glenelg Beach, just a short bus ride from home. Their mother Nancy wasn't worried. The children had made this trip many times before. Glenelg was safe. It was summer. They would be back for lunch. But lunch came and went. And Jane, Arnna, and Grant Beaumont never came home. More than 57 years have now passed since that warm summer day. No trace of the 3 children was ever found. No one was ever charged. No one was ever convicted. And to this day, the Beaumont case remains the most haunting unsolved mystery in Australian history. This is their story. Chapter 2. Australia in 1966. To understand what happened on that summer day, we need to understand Australia in 1966. It was a different time. A quieter time. A time when people left their doors unlocked at night, and children walked to school without a second thought. Adelaide was a conservative, peaceful city, known for its churches and its gardens, its wide, planned streets, its sense of community. The Beaumont family lived a simple, happy life in the suburb of Somerton Park. Jim Beaumont worked hard to provide for his family. Nancy kept the home. They had 3 children who, by all accounts, were bright, well-behaved, and loved. Jane, the eldest at 9 years old, was responsible and reliable. She looked after her younger siblings the way a child instinctively does when they love their family. Arnna, at 7, was spirited and curious. She had a laugh that people remembered. And Grant, little Grant, only 4 years old, rarely left his sister's side. On the morning of January the 26th, the 3 children boarded the 10:15 bus to Glenelg. Jane had enough money for the round trip, and a little extra for ice cream. That was the last confirmed sighting of all 3 children together. Chapter 3. The last known hours. What happened next has been pieced together over decades, from witness statements, police interviews, and years of careful investigation. At around midday, a woman named Rachel Hume spotted 3 children at the beach, who matched the Beaumont's description. They appeared to be with a man, a tall, blond man, athletic-looking, perhaps 30 to 35 years old. The children seemed completely at ease with him. They were laughing, playing, not afraid at all. Rachel Hume thought nothing of it. He looked like their father. At 12:15 in the afternoon, a bakery owner in Glenelg recalls a girl, matching Jane's description, purchasing pies and pasties. She paid with a £1 note. The Beaumont children had not left home with a £1 note. Someone had given them money. When the children hadn't returned home by 3 in the afternoon, Nancy Beaumont began to worry. By 5 o'clock, she called the police. By nightfall, the search had begun. Chapter 4. The investigation begins. The investigation that followed was one of the largest in Australian history. More than 300 police officers were involved. Thousands of tip-offs were received and followed up. Hundreds of men were interviewed. The description of the blond man was circulated across the country, but no one could identify him. No one could tell police his name, where he came from, or where he had taken the children. The case gripped the nation. It was front-page news for weeks, months, years, and Jim Beaumont, the father, began a search that would consume the rest of his life. Jim was certain his children had not simply wandered off. He worked with police, with private investigators, with anyone who offered hope. He followed every lead. He sat through every false confession. He answered every letter from people who claimed to know what had happened. He died in 2013 at the age of 96. He never found his children. Chapter 5. The prime suspect. Over the decades, One name has appeared again and again in connection with the Beaumont case: Arthur Stanley Brown. Brown was a Dutch-born accountant who lived in Queensland. He was tall, blond, athletic-looking. He matched the description witnesses had given police. He was first interviewed by police in 1967. He denied any involvement. He was interviewed again and again. Each time he denied it. He died in 2017 at the age of 90. He was never charged. He never confessed. But in 2018, South Australian police made a dramatic announcement. They believed they had identified the location where Jane, Arnna, and Grant had been buried on a former market garden property in Winville, north of Adelaide. For a few extraordinary days, Australia held its breath. The family dared to hope that after 52 years, there might finally be answers. But the excavation found nothing. No remains. No evidence. No answers. The mystery deepened once more. Chapter 6. What Australia Lost. The Beaumont case changed Australia forever. In the years that followed, children were no longer allowed to walk freely to the beach alone. Parents began to escort their children everywhere. A nation lost its innocence on Australia Day, 1966. And yet the case also showed something remarkable about the Australian character. For decades, ordinary Australians refused to forget Jane, Arnna, and Grant. People sent letters. People made calls. People came forward with information, even 50 years later, because they believed those 3 children deserved answers. Nancy Beaumont, who died in 2019, and Jim, who died 6 years before her, lived their entire lives with the wound of that day open. But they never stopped hoping. And Australia never stopped looking. Chapter 7. The case today. The Beaumont case remains officially open. South Australian police still receive tips and leads. Cold case detectives review new evidence when it emerges. The identity of the blond man at Glenelg Beach on Australia Day, 1966. The man who spent time with 3 children and gave them money remains unknown. If he is still alive, he would be in his 80s or 90s. If he took those children, he has carried that secret for nearly 60 years. Jane Beaumont would be 76 years old today. Arnna would be 74. Grant would be 62. Somewhere, somehow, there are answers. And somewhere in Australia, someone knows what happened on that warm summer afternoon. Thank you for sitting with this story. These children deserve to be remembered. And the truth, wherever it lies, deserves to be found. If you have any information about the Beaumont children, South Australian police still have an active tip line. If you want more true Australian stories like this one, subscribe to Aussie True Stories. We post new stories every week. Next time, a Prime Minister walks into the ocean and is never seen again. Good night, Australia.